Welcome back to Talking Tillies. Cody and I started chatting and venting our thoughts off air before we hit record, and we were like, damn, this would sound really good. Hitting record. We're back after a massive week of international football, Cody. How are we going? How much did we get to watch? Are we vibing what we saw?
I'm going good. Not sure about you. I got to see it all. I took some time off the A-Liga men's to make sure I was watching the Matildas because, you know, the national team's men or women is always where my heart's going to lie. And what am I vibing? I'm vibing a lot. I think there's a lot of good to come out of this side over the last week, sorry. And I am keen for December
100%.
and
I want to highlight
February
two names that I want to touch on later, but I think two names that I think to me stuck out more than others. We're going to remove Caitlin Ford from the situation because I think she was the player of the week for us. She was absolutely brilliant. Amy Sayer, Claire Wheeler. I'm going to put those two names out there. Say what you will, but I don't know. I feel like this was a change squad. I feel like Tony, I don't know, is a different human post-World Cup. And I get we weren't playing against the strongest of opposition, but you take that rotation. We literally played 3 different squads. You take that rotation, that squad, towards Paris. Oof. I'm excited.
There's genuinely a lot to be excited about. I'd be surprised if anyone's not excited after seeing their national team win 3 games,
13?
not concede a single goal and score, what was it, 13? I think it was 10 against Philippines. Maybe I just lost a bit of count in that game. But no, like it's exciting times and we should be excited about this Matilda side. It's the whole reason why we're in this situation. You don't get almost 100,000 people through the gates for a bang average team. 100%. You get that for a good team and you get that for a rough team as well. I'm
feeling so good. There was so much like interesting stuff to come out of last week, from formations to squads to rotation to everything. We saw all 3 goalkeepers. We saw every single person that was named in the squad get minutes. I don't know. It was just refreshing from watching.
It's refreshing in a way. I think it is a little bit different to tournament football, where I guess it isn't a way tournament football. It's qualifying football. There's a big difference in, you know, obviously the quality of the opposition you're going up against, and I guess how you've got to manage your side as well. With tournament football, you've got to make sure your key players are kind of peaking at the right time towards the end, whereas, you know, you can, in a situation like this, you can kind of go game by game because each game is just going to be as important as the last. In reality, if there was one game with the most importance on it, we played that smack bang in the middle of this little series. That Philippines game was the one we needed to go all out for, and by God,
I think it was interesting because, like, you jump back to our conversation with Kieran last week, and we were like, game 1, all out attack, go nuts, and then what was your reaction to that starting lineup for game 1? Let's start there.
It makes sense when you take into account that, oh yeah, like 15 of our squad, or maybe even more, had to catch a 24-hour flight to get into camp and then try and play a football match. I think it probably was a little bit far-fetched. Yeah. You know, reflecting on it now, there's a reason why I try and make sure I don't preface myself as an expert, because I sometimes forget to take these things into consideration. Trying to be a professional athlete after sitting in a plane in a confined space. And I think some of the girls are lucky they can get business class or first class tickets over now. But, you know, some maybe aren't so lucky in that regard. So they're sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
And you know what long haul flights are like. They're horrible. So to expect them to play an international football match after that probably was a little bit harsh on them. But look, fair to Tony, we have a good depth in this national team outside of our first 11. We got to see a little bit more of them. I know probably some of the newer fans were maybe a little bit shocked and a little bit more refreshed on the Sunday when there was like, oh yeah, all our favourites are back. But what it does give you the opportunity is to see what those other players are like. You know, I remember, and I'm talking off my own personal TikTok here, I remember posting a video about who I think will be in the Matilda side in the next 5 years. And, sometimes I mention players that maybe aren't at the center of attention right now, and fans maybe lean to someone else. Like I mentioned, Sarah Hunter, Holly McNamara, names that maybe people aren't so familiar with, particularly Sarah Hunter, who hasn't been in the squad at all yet. And, the first way people will react will sit there and go, oh, what about Charlie Grant? What about Claire Wheeler? What about Chidiac? Yeah. Whereas, because that's the players that they're kind of familiar with. Whereas, there's other players that are coming through that, once you have the opportunity to sit there, watch them and fall in love with them, you're going to. And I think that's what a game like that does, massive anticipation for it. First game back from the World Cup and just seeing names that you're probably not familiar with. But once you watch them, it's like, oh shit, these girls are pretty good too. Like, they may not be a Sam Kerr level, or they may not be a Caitlin Ford level, but I think the best way to describe them is they're not a Sam Kerr or Caitlin Ford yet, because they've got the potential to be. But these are the games where you sit there and go, oh yeah, I want to watch her. She's 21, 22, and she might be a good player in the future. I'm going to keep my eye on her. And then in 10 years later, it's like, oh fuck, I was watching her 10 years ago when she was starting out, and now she's broken all these records. You never know what's going to happen. That's what excites me about those kinds of games.
You take out Meeks, EVE, and Polks. Everybody else is kind of the foundation of that team moving forward. You got Ellie on the right, Charlie on the left, Nevin playing centre back, probably not a natural role, but good to know that she can hold it down. Vine, Wheeler, Chidiac, Sayer. Like, that's
that's a side for the future. Sayer wasn't even someone I mentioned in that in kind of that little clip, but she's someone that could be there or thereabouts.
Like, every time she came on.
Yeah, 100%. Look, it's a weird one where I sit there and go, I probably wouldn't say that she was like outstanding or in our upper echelon of players, but that's also a hard standard when you're competing with Sam Kerr and Caitlin Ford. But what you can see from her is someone that can easily slot into that side when needed. I think the last game was probably the most mature performance I've seen from her through the series, and the most mature performance I've seen from her in a Matilda's jersey so far. She has played, I think, 6 games.
She's got a few numbers
beforehand. I'm not 100%
it's not doubles,
sure,
but it's over halfway there, I think. Yeah,
it's definitely not like one. This is more than one. She's definitely played more than once. But it speaks to the level that she's at, and she only just moved to Kristianstad in Sweden. I believe it was during the World Cup period or just before. Yeah, and before that, she was just playing college football, so she probably needed that chance to go into proper senior football, get a bit of maturity. The pace of the game is obviously going to be a lot different. No disrespect to college football. She was at, I believe, one of the best colleges you could be at in Stanford. Yeah. So definitely not a scrub level to be playing at, but it's definitely a difference going from that to proper week in, week out senior football where you're battling for Champions League spots, you're battling for trophies, you're battling possibly for relegation as well. It's an entirely different game, and now seeing her come back from that environment,
100%.
You're going to see completely
this
different
game with
players
Iran. 53 minutes of in-ball play time was the stat. We won't touch on the theatrics, you guys. If you watch the game, you understand what we're talking about. If you didn't watch the game, make sure you watch the match highlights and not the full match, because it'll just drive you insane. We did that for you, and that's why we're here talking about what happened. But Ellie getting us off the ground running. Good little piece of play. Vine driving down the right, crossing the ball. Charlie kind of getting it stuck under Ellie's feet. I was really intrigued. I think we played the same formation on all 3 games. Those inverted backs, and at one point we had Claire Wheeler named at right back playing in a 6. Like, it was a very, I don't know if that's what they've usually done, but it seemed very, very different. And I kind of liked the way it played out, but it was weird seeing Ellie in the box.
It's
like in that central role.
To be fair, that's when you talk about someone like Ellie Carpenter, her strengths are definitely going forward. She's kind of this real marauding fullback. She likes to be part of the attack. She likes to be kind of in those spaces, whether it's a little bit further out wide or in the box where she can score. It's probably not dissimilar to what we've done in the past. It's a very technical observation as well. Like, it's one that even sometimes goes beyond my scope of comprehension. I'm not what you'd call a tactics master, but it's, for some people, it probably was a little bit more prevalent over these 3 games simply because of how much we were dominating as well, and our fullbacks could really sit in the box and not have to, could kind of let their defensive duties slip up a little bit because you don't have to worry about, obviously we didn't play her in the game against England, but for example, Lauren James coming at you and having to track back and defend her.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like when you're playing a side like Iran or a Chinese Taipei where, they're going to sit 9 or 10 players behind the ball and just purely try and go, okay,
damage control.
We're going to lose, but we don't want to lose that much. Then you can throw a couple players forward because obviously having someone like Ellie Carpenter sitting with her defenders in a game like that would just be purely a waste. So it's probably just a case of it being more prevalent rather than something new. And it may, if there's any difference to what we would have seen in the World Cup, it may have just been that there was a bit more emphasis on it. And it's probably why he wanted to try Claire Wheeler in that role as well. Not just because she's done it with Everton, but because, she's a natural midfielder. She can get into those pockets of space. It was something worth trying. Did it come off the way he wanted to? I don't know if I'd say so. Probably not the type of fullback he'll have in his system, but it's a game you try it. I'm not going to put that performance down to Claire Wheeler. The team tried something, it maybe didn't work. You move on.
Also, one of those things that if we get to
we
that
won the
point
game 3-0 anyway. I don't think anyone's going to harp on about it.
She's got the experience at doing it in the team. Like, it's one of those things where we're using this time
100%
against these types of opposition to not only blood those fresh players, like we were talking about, but getting them experience in roles outside of the norm. Nevin playing centre back, like.
It's something I remember Tony saying when he, very, very early, before the 2020 Olympics, where he was talking about, he wants 2 players every position, 2 positions for every player. That kind of mentality. And Claire Wheeler's probably one of the lesser versatile players so far. So now it's something that you can add to her, I guess. You look at someone like Ellie Carpenter. Believe it or not, she can play as a natural winger as well if you really need her to. So that if you could look at every player and sit there and go, there is probably 2 positions that they can play. Maybe bar Sam Kerr, but if you don't put Sam Kerr up front as a manager, there's probably more questions
Sam,
there than
scores the second goal for that 2-0 win in 53 minutes of game time. That's the stat you need to know if you didn't watch the game. 53 minutes of in-ball play time. Let's go to a game that was said in the coverage of
where
Chinese
did you see
Taipei. They brought it up about 3 times, and I was like, I'm going to make note of that. But yeah, apparently there's a...
Oh my God. I'll tell you what, look, I'll be honest, I went on a massive rant on this on another show on, obviously I work for Front Page Football. I did it on the Front Page Football podcast. I convinced him to do 10 minutes on Tillies and I spent 5 of it just complaining about
I think I turned it off
in that game.
60-something minutes. And I was like, I don't feel like I've watched football. And
I just kept going.
And I think that
I'm a sucker.
Squad, that result is really good considering the stop-start of that game. There was no flow. There was no you couldn't build momentum because it was stopped by a 5-minute break.
No, 100%. And an observation that someone passed on to me as well, a good friend of mine, it's Onus Pagonis. Obviously he's South Australian. So obviously he's looking at, your Charlie Grant, your Alex Chidiak's very patriotic in that regard. So he's obviously wanting to see how they go. And even he said someone like Alex Chidiak, who you'd think in a game where we are facing quite a low block that she's the sort of person that can unlock it. But that stop-start nature, someone like her, she really needs to build into a game. She thrives off momentum.
Yeah.
In the Chinese Taipei game, she would have been fantastic. But around the way, like you said, they're stopping a game for 5 minutes and it gets to a point where it's a little bit ridiculous. Me personally, I understand Iran's got this beautiful story of how, obviously back home they've got their issues where, they're not allowed in stadiums, all that sort of stuff. And it's a great story, the fact that they're here and they get to play in front of so many people. But in all honesty, they just pissed me off. I'll be straight. It annoyed me to all hell. And I would have 100%. Loved to have
And I think that's what a lot of people were expecting. But
sure
unfortunately, 53 minutes of game time, 2 goals was the outcome.
Honestly, I'll tell you what, we've seen Matilda sides in the past struggle in games like that, and sides of that quality as well.
Half of Chinese Taipei.
Yeah, no, and look, it's funny because the last time we played Chinese Taipei, I think it was actually at home and we beat them 7-0. It shows that sides like that are getting better. And I guess one argument that you can have to what I'm saying is, well, if you hate what Iran did so much, are you going to complain the same way about Chinese Taipei? Yeah. Chinese Taipei set up properly
and they
defensively. Like they had a low block and they were generally just trying to defend for their lives. Iran were just falling on the floor by that point. Like there wasn't really a purpose to it other than to try and stop the game.
There's a couple of stoppages. I watched the end of the Philippines game before the Aussie girls, and I
didn't watch that game. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Wait, you're talking about Iran and Philippines against each other, right?
Like just to get to the Matildas game, and it frustrated me even more. Let's go from a 2-goal time-wasting schmozzle to a game where I messaged you about 20 minutes in with
So you were saying I was saying yeah.
I love the fact that it got to a point where the girls were just like, cool, we can't celebrate anymore. Like, high five, let's go get on with it. But yeah, good sports
respect, but like I don't mind. Even if they did celebrate, I probably wouldn't have cared. But once you hit 4 or 5, it's almost like, well, what are we celebrating for? The Americans are very different. They would have had choreographed dances once they hit 10. But,
exactly.
Speaking we're not like that. We have a bit of class in this country.
B Soccer apparently have Caitlin Ford playing up front on this game. Definitely not the case. Double hat trick. Caitlin Ford, Sam Kerr, Mary Fowler gets on the sheet as well. And Claire Wheeler scores her first goal in green and gold. Oh, what a strike.
It's one way to do it as well.
Bro, I was so excited. I was actually in another Zoom meeting when it went in. I was like, I had to control myself because they didn't know that I was watching soccer. Sorry, guys, if you're listening to this. Like, that is what I think everybody was waiting for.
Honestly, you savor those moments when it comes because, I mentioned us having a 7-0 win before, but it's very, very rare that a Matilda side or an Australian side in general is very ruthless. You see some of the results in other games in the Asian qualifying. I believe South Korea beat
Japan
Thailand 10-1
or something like that.
Like we very rarely have results like that. But one thing we do is we make sure we're consistent and we'll win every other game. South Korea, I don't think they won another game after that. So, they can have their 10-1 result. We'll have a potential spot at the Olympics instead. I feel like I'm coming out for too many people tonight.
Michelle will be back with us next week or the week after. I'm not too sure, but yeah, we're missing her. She's not missing us by the looks of her Instagram, but that's okay. All in all, this was the World Cup squad. This was World Cup 11.
It was a World Cup 11.
It looked good. I have a lot of faith in Claire Hunt and AK at the back now after watching like that with Catley and Carpenter playing so far forward, the way they controlled it, they did against Chinese Taipei as well, the way they controlled those breaks and shut them down with just the two of them. That's what we missed against England. but like I thought they did pretty well.
Yeah, look, the England game's a tough comparison simply because of the quality we're playing that day. It's way too dissimilar. Philippines, look, I applaud them 100% the way they tried to come out at Australia a little bit more. There's every chance a side like the Philippines
and they had that. Well, they did have
on their day could score 1 or 2 against us. You got quality players up.
Yeah.
And you're talking about shutting down someone like Serena Bolden. It's not necessarily an easy task. Why an A-League club hasn't signed her, I don't know. But that's another conversation for possibly another day. But no, you talk about Hunt and Alana Kennedy. There's a reason why they are our starting centre-backs. There's a reason why they're playing pretty much at the pinnacle of women's football now. It's because, Alana Kennedy's now, I saw she hadn't dropped a minute in Man City's squad this season, which, considering what was going on last year, obviously it was mainly due to injury concerns, but she's gotten herself fit. She's gotten herself in form. She's part of a solid defence at Man City, playing regular football, this is reaping the rewards of it. And you talk about someone like Claire Hunt as well. I know we spoke up so much about, is she going to play? Isn't she going to play? Maybe she'll take time to settle in. She's starting to settle in a lot
100%.
quicker than what I thought. And we're seeing the rewards of it as well. You've got two players who are getting regular football at the top of women's football.
Yeah.
They come into games like this, and it's almost child's play for them. No disrespect to who we're playing against, but it's the sort of level that we need our players to be at, simply so we can hit our potential as being a real dominant force in Asia. Like, we'll go into who we're going to play in the next round already, but them playing that way and then playing that way at club level as well, I would almost feel confident if we were facing Japan. Yeah. And I never say that about an Australian side, ever.
Like, even Kat Gurry is playing at the top of Sweden, right? You take her out of the case. Everyone's playing in the top league, like in that 11. Everyone's playing in the top league for some of the top teams. Mackenzie Arnold is probably the exception there with West Ham, but that's a different story.
Yeah, but Mackenzie Arnold would probably be. I think there's a consensus in England that exactly. She is like the top keeper outside their like big four.
Yeah,
and that's a good level.
You look at everybody else, like in terms of playing at top leagues. We've got two playing in France. Everybody else is pretty much playing in England and getting regular minutes. Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
And besides Cara Cooney-Cross, they're all playing regularly too.
It's so cool to see.
And you bring up Katrina Gorry in that regard as well. Katrina Gorry, if she wanted to, could probably fit into like a Man United or something. I think there's probably personal issues there. I think in Sweden, she's probably a little bit more comfortable with a family life. Obviously, her fiance is from there as well.
Whatever that norm.
Obviously, her fiance became that after she went over there recently. But yes, getting my words mixed up. Citizen of the Year, like nominee or something like that. Like, she's clearly got a good life for her set up in Sweden, and that at her age, it is a hard thing to uproot just to try and stay.
We see people struggle in certain surroundings as well. She's got the surroundings that's letting her thrive, and it's helping her football. And yeah,
it'd be a risk to kind of abandon that to play it almost like a sideways step, because as much as it, the Allsvenskan, it is a good level, to be fair, even if it's not that WSL or Div 1 feminine level. She's still playing that good in the Allsvenskan that she could still say, hey, look, I am still one of the best midfielders in the world.
As well. One person I am super happy to see used correctly in this squad, Mary Fowler. I think the role she played in those two games at the end was brilliant. I think she's taken her creativity and the poise on the ball that she had coming into this with City and just translated straight into this squad. And it was a different vibe when she got the ball. It wasn't like a one touch, what do I do now? It's not like, cool, I've got to try and be Sam. It was like, cool, I'm just going to create and see what happens. And obviously we take into account like opposition, but I feel like that's what the midfield's been missing in that kind of... Exactly.
You need that link player, like that's someone that can really sit in that hole. I feel like at the World Cup we tried to get out of her, but there's rustiness as well. She had a season where she wasn't playing regular football. Now she is doing that, and she can play out wide as well. I think even with the Matildas across the period, we did see her drift into wide areas, but the way she's playing in those wide areas, she's playing more like a wide playmaker. She's not trying. Tony's not trying to shoehorn. Still struggling with my words. Shoehorn her in as as out and out winger that's going to just drive at people. She can do that, but she's probably better holding the ball up, letting the player move around her, and then trying to make a decision, then finding space and taking shots from distance as well. She's got a
goal against Chinese Taipei. Holy crap! Yeah, when it hit the net,
beautiful. Honestly, I audibly gasped when she scored.
That was top notch. But yeah, like, it was just good to see her have the freedom just to get out, create, link up with Razzo and Ford on either side, and then just go in and out with Kyra and Kat as well. Like, it looked really good.
And it highlights what her strengths are as well. I feel like Matildas have passed, and even some of the top Matildas now, it is a bit more based around their physical qualities. A lot of them are quick. We've got some good dribblers. I think Ford probably, in terms of technical output, probably is the most easy on the eye. Sam Kerr, jury's still out on her first touch for me. But obviously you can't deny the finishing and the pace, the aerial presence that she can offer. But that's when you're talking about those kinds of physical qualities in a player, we sometimes forget that we do have a slight lack of technical players in this country. Maybe it's like Katrina Gorry as well. And I know Alana Kennedy can be a good ball-playing centre-back, but someone like Mary Fowler, I don't think I've seen a range of technical qualities on an Australian player like her since maybe Harry Kuehl. And like we're talking 20 years ago and the men's. Like that's how long it's been since we've seen this kind of player. Like that's where the comparisons I think come to. And I'm going to stitch someone up here a little bit. I had a conversation with my fiance's sister, so future sister-in-law, where she was sitting there trying to say, "Oh, I think Sam Kerr is a bit overrated." I'm looking at her going, like, "Why?"
Big.
Like, that's a very, very
come on our podcast
call to make. Why are you making it? Please back it up. But she just turned around to me and says, "Well, you look at someone like Mary Fowler. Like she's obviously better. Like she's better with the ball. Yada yada yada." And I'm sitting like, on one hand, I'm sitting there thinking, well, that doesn't diminish what Sam Kerr can offer to a team. But on the other hand, it shows the changing landscape that we have in this country where, a lot of our Matildas are built around players that kind of played football because that was all that women were able to play once they hit a certain age. Whereas a lot of the young players coming through are players that have been playing football from a young age, practicing football-specific qualities, and able to let those develop over a period of time. And Mary Fowler is probably the best summation of it that we're going to see in terms of technical quality coming into the Matilda side now. Once we see like your Holly McNamara's and Daniela Gallagher's, we're going to see a range of players that are not similar in terms of how they play, but similar in terms of where their strengths sort of lie. It's definitely more on the technical side of the game. But it does raise a good point where in terms of where Fowler could be in 10, 15 years, maybe we do look back and sit there and go, she definitely hit those heights Sam Kerr did. Tough call to make now, and it shouldn't diminish what Sam Kerr's done. But the fact that fans are noticing that, okay, Mary Fowler's like different grade.
But this is the generational swap that we're kind of talking about consistently, is that eventually this guard's going to move and we've got to have that next breed coming through. And if Mary Fowler's the head of that, I'm excited. Yeah.
And it does help that she is going to be in the Matilda squad probably for the next 10 to 15 years. So, the new fans that even once your Sam Kerrs, Caitlin Forders retire, there is still between Fowler, Carpenter, those players that they can latch on to and go, these are still some of my favourite Matildas, and then give time for someone else to come through that's going to take that mantle afterwards, Like your Daniela Gallagher's, your Holly McNamara's, your Sarah Hunters, once they come through, it's like, oh, yeah, we love these girls too. We've just seen them now, but we love them too. And it's not a thing of, we're being introduced to them at the end of their careers. This time they'll be introduced at the start
and that's where
and be able to develop that emotional connection
this
through.
Hype to have come in around the Matildas as well is we are at a point, exactly, but we're at a point where all these new people have come in as things are starting to change in the squad. So they're already getting used to people kind of coming in and out and seeing new faces, which hopefully continues on towards Paris.
And it's not at a point where it's like, the squad's going to change tomorrow or it's going to change before the next World Cup. It'll probably be after the next World Cup. So I'll still get one more with those Matildas. And Sam Kerr,
probably,
considering her standing with the Matildas, probably has 2 in her as well. I'm not sure about some of the others, but Sam Kerr 100% definitely does. So there is time for that changeover to happen. As Sam Kerr kind of dips out into a late 30s, early 40s, you're going to see someone else come up. There's probably a 10, 11-year-old now that possibly was inspired by the World Cup or just is generally balling out somewhere in some SAP program somewhere that in the next 5-10 years we're going to be sitting here talking about it. It's nuts to think about, really. Like you look at someone like Mary, like I know Mary Fowler was at the last World Cup, but she was only 16 at the last World Cup. There's a 16-year-old somewhere now that in 4 years' time we're going to be banging the drum about again.
2 people I want to touch on because I was really excited. We didn't get any goals or anything from it, but I think our corner delivery was really good these 2 games. Kyra Cooney-Cross on one, Catley on the other. Kind of expect it from Steph, but I think Kyra did a really good job, and there were a couple of moments there where Claire and AK just couldn't get ahead to things or things like that, but the balls coming in from corners set pieces looked like they could be dangerous, which, yeah, I don't know. It just stuck out to me a couple of times where I was like, that was actually a really, really good ball.
Well, they were dangerous because you could see every defense when they were trying to deal with it, just scrambling for it and doing everything they could to just get it away from two clear target options. And, when you go up against a more organized defense, you probably do have the scope to take advantage of that a little bit more. But these games where, as much as Alana Kennedy and Claire Hunt do tower over people, when you've got 2 or 3 players marking you, and even if they go up to your shoulders, it is still hard to get that little bit of reach. But no, 100%. Cooney Cross, even outside of corner deliveries, I think, especially in the game against Chinese Taipei, the way she was moving the ball, she was able to get forward. Saw her dribbling a lot more and try and actually spearhead openings herself, and she was able to create some. I do wish she got an assist somewhere in there. But either way, I thought it was a fantastic performance from her. The fact that she's getting involved and creating a lot more and making a noticeable impact on the game. I think one thing with her, when she's not on, she can go a little bit anonymous. But when she's on and she's getting involved, she's getting in the thick of things, she's trying to make an impact. She's someone that stands out a lot, and it's hard to do that in the role.
I'm glad you said anonymous there, because this was something
full credit to her.
I noticed a fair bit during the World Cup, but noticed it against Chinese Taipei as well. I got to a point it wasn't too long before Mary scored, but I was like, "Where's our midfield?" Like it just felt like there was nothing clicking, or like it just felt like everything had to go down the wing to get anywhere. And I don't... Okay.
I think that's more because of the way Chinese Taipei was setting up as well. When you're covering that much space in the middle, the wide areas are the only place where you can actually get a bit of freedom on the ball. So that's why traffic was being directed out there as well. But even, you talk about Cooney Cross in that game, I think that was probably where she was probably the most noticeable as well, because she was picking up the ball. She probably wasn't trying to play through as much. She was just trying to get the ball, almost just power through herself. And it comes from, like, what you're saying is probably correct, where we weren't able to kind of play through our midfield. But when Cooney Cross was on it, was like,
every time I thought it, though, they did,
and she was break out of that quite well. There was just a couple
of moments where I was like, this is kind of, everyone's kind of like disappeared. I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
It's a tough game to get into, and it's a credit to Chinese Taipei because they set up very, very well. And one thing with them, even when they were getting the ball, like you look at the Iran game, I hate to bring them up again, but every time they got the ball, they were just clearing it out. I think they ended up with like 11, 12 clearances that game to Australia's 0, which showed how much we were trying to make sure we stuck to our fundamentals, which is fantastic in itself. But Chinese Taipei, every time they got the ball, there's a couple of clearances in there, but there was an attempt to sit there and go, we'll get the ball on the floor, we'll try and control it, we'll see what we can do. For a side of that ability to do that against the Matildas, that 100%. Takes a lot of bravery and a lot of good coaching as well. So 100% big ups to him.
Cheng, she had an absolute blinder of a game.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That break,
great
I think
saves.
It was Kat Gorry that she made that incredible save to her right. That was wild. So,
diving out of feet. It's nuts.
Took a couple of hits.
She threw her body around as well a little bit. Probably picked up a couple of knocks in there. It's a knocks that I can understand. Okay, you need medical attention for that. She take the time 100%. You need.
Let's touch just one more time. Claire Wheeler, first goal in the green and gold. Wonder of a strike too. Like absolute brilliant. So good to see her. Hopefully Everton take note, because I think she played really well in the minutes that she got. So hopefully
especially in a natural position. Look, I said it during the World Cup, I would have liked to see her a little bit more. I think she could have. There were games where she probably could have offered something that would have helped us, particularly maybe against Sweden, when, some of the legs were starting to wear out a little bit. She could have come in a little bit fresher, eager, ready to make an impact. That's the sort of game that would have been built for her as well. A game that's, not up there with the most important, but still an opportunity to make a name for yourself. Would have been fantastic for her, but unfortunately, it didn't happen, but it happened again on Sunday against the Philippines.
Exactly.
So I guess
Courtney Vine on and off
chances
with
come
an
when they
injury
come
as well. Hopefully, it's just a knock, nothing too serious for Sydney to worry about. I
didn't even realize she was injured at first. I just thought he was dragging her off, and I was like, she wasn't that bad, was she?
Yeah, and when she came off, I was like, oh, that's not good. But
well, it looks like she's out for the Asian Club Championship. So Sydney FC have got 3 games in Uzbekistan without her.
We'll get to the A-League in a second, guys. We have one more game to cover. The final game. We were already qualified for the final round by this point, which was good. But we've spoken a lot about this Chinese Taipei game because I think it was probably the most footballish game that we saw. It was like the girls were actually able to play. It wasn't a dominating kind of attacking affair. Like they had to really work for what they got. Once the floodgates open,
I wouldn't say it was the most footballish, but I think what you said there, they had to work for. I think that's what made this game the most exciting. Look, from my point of view, I had the confidence that we were going to find a way to win this game anyway. It's half arrogance, half faith. I'll lean towards the faith part, but look, I think it's a confidence going around this Matilda squad as well. I think no matter what happens in a match, I've just got faith that they're going to find a way to pull through, particularly in a game that our quality is so much more than that of the opposition. You look at the way Chinese Taipei were playing, as much as it was good, and I can understand why they were trying to do what they were doing, and I thought they actually did it quite well. It did always feel like Matildas were going to find, I could see a banger coming from somewhere, and I'm glad it was
the first touch, because
that was
the touch to bring that ball down from Mary. It was so good.
Yeah, 100%. This is what I'm talking about. The technical quality. It's different gravy. It's different. It's special. Like, we don't see this in this country very often, and we should be savoring every moment we get to watch her play because it is truly special. But you could. Like, the more I watched the game, the more I thought, you know what? Like, screw trying to play through, screw trying to get in the box, screw these crosses. Just get a bit of space on the edge, get a shot away. Yeah. As much as I think her name was Chen. As much as she was doing well, we weren't testing her trying to actually dive for a long shot. A lot of shots from distance were either going over the bar, wide, or right to her. I think we hadn't tested her properly in that regard yet. And I could kind of sense, like, once we're able to hit a ball top corner, she wasn't going to pull out.
I would have clapped her if she did, though, because she was on that. She could have,
save. Adrenaline turns you into a different player, I guess. So you never know. Maybe there were a couple saves that I was looking at and saying, okay, yeah, like, I did not expect that from you. But there was a sense, at least in my mind, that once we got a bit of space and once we got a shot away properly, it was going to hit the back of the net. It was almost inevitable. And then once you do that, then it opens up a little bit. So it once I came to terms that we were going into halftime 0-0, it probably was, the game did kind of peter out the way I expected it to. But, like I said, full credit to Chinese Taipei. They did well. But a game like that, there's times in the past where we would have lost that. I think back to the Asian Cup against South Korea. They set up the same way. They were able to get a break and score a banger of their own. Whereas now we're doing that because we've got the confidence in ourselves to sit there and go, okay, we're not going to panic. We're good enough. We're 100%. One of the best teams in the world. We know we're going to get a goal.
One of the biggest things that we were talking about prior to, or during our preseason phase, was Tony and his substitutions, using a sub to change goalkeepers at halftime. I fucking love that. Obviously, Lydia, we weren't even sure if she was going to play after the knock she took for victory. So I was surprised she could, So
yeah, I was surprised she was
and getting minutes.
So
I think I loved. Did you hear the crowd when she touched the ball for the first time? Yeah. But hey,
I think it's also because she's a Perth local. That probably does play into a little bit. But
speaking of
100%, fantastic. Get behind her. Get behind the hometown heroes.
Matilda's
it's more than just Sam Kerr
on the TV. You guys were all over it.
Oh, that was fantastic. I saw one girl on Twitter actually sit there and go, "Can someone tell the girl with the megaphone to pack it in?"
She's because you couldn't hear everyone.
Like, shut up! Someone's trying to make atmosphere here.
I think we're really good. And they paid dividends. Charlie Grant, Amy Sayer, and Tamika Yallop all linking up for a goal. I really liked Charlie's energy when she came on. Just the way she changed kind of the atmosphere on the pitch. I don't know. Just really worked for me.
No, it makes sense. And look, with Carpenter gone, I thought she would have just slotted right in. But having her come off the bench, it allowed her to kind of play her natural game in an instance in the match where we probably needed an injection of it. You do that from the start, maybe as the game peters on, she doesn't have that same energy. She is not able to unlock a defense the same way that she usually does. And you're bringing Claire Wheeler on, where Claire Wheeler's probably not got the same pace behind her, not got the same energy behind her, probably a bit more on the technical side of the game. But having Charlie instead enter the game at that period
convincing
probably
proved
to be
a tactical
in our benefit. I mean, look, it probably came from him just wanting to try something and reverting back to what he's usually doing. There probably is that train of thought there, but
100%.
in the end it works.
Amy Sayer,
so you can't knock him.
I love it. She looks so good. I am,
She looks like a good impact player at this stage of her career. I don't know if she's ready to be like a proper we need, though. Starter, like 2-3 games in a row yet. But
yeah, exactly. And
we need someone that can play that backup centre forward role.
Add her into the box. Add her into the box with Claire Hunt.
I didn't realise how tall she was.
Our corners are going to be friggin' potent. I love it. Yeah.
That took me by surprise, in all honesty. I thought that she was like my height or something, like 5'7" or something like that. She's got a bit of height on her.
It took me by surprise. I was like, oh my God, yeah. Height. I don't know. Like, all in all, I'm happy. I feel like things are looking good. With the way, I know Kieran tried to explain it to everybody last week on how the qualifying thing works. It actually makes a lot more sense now that you've seen it in action and see where it peters out. So we top Group A. We go through. North Korea outshone South Korea to take out Group B. Japan, as expected, took out Group C, and Uzbekistan out of Group C qualified as best second place. So we now play Uzbekistan home and away. I think that's how it works, home and away.
Yeah, so we go to Tashkent first, and then they'll play somewhere in Australia. Whoever doesn't have a Taylor Swift or Pink concert,
that's actually a good question.
Will get to host it, really.
Adelaide?
I'll tell you what, Adelaide Oval,
hill.
You get 50,000 people at
Adelaide
Oval, you get a good atmosphere. Anyone that was at the 2016. I'll tell you what, anyone that was at the 2016 Adelaide Grand Final will know.
Hey, we saw it during the State of Origin. It can host a big event.
Good level. So it's not a bad shout.
We're talking bigger.
State of Origin. Like we're talking football. Like football's a different breed. The State of Origin is a big match. Don't get me wrong, but like a football match with
and major
passion and intensity involved in it, you don't get anything.
How this will work from here on out, for those of you that didn't listen to last week's episode, we go to Uzbekistan, play Uzbekistan. It's like Champions League football. If you guys have watched that, goes on aggregate. So score comes back home. Say we win 3-0. We come home with a 3-0 advantage, which wouldn't that be good going into a home? Yeah, right.
We could do with something like that. Actually, you know what? The first leg could almost be like, it shouldn't be a write-off. We should be comfortably beating Uzbekistan. But knowing that the second leg's at home, it's like, doesn't matter what happens overseas. Like, we can come here. We've got our crowd behind us.
I think that's a really cool thing. Like,
we're a tough side to beat in Australia.
Think of that. Like, that idea that this is now a fortress is, like, really, really cool. And I think the world...
And no matter what city either. Like, we can go to Perth and get 59,000 people in the stadium, making it a tough time for the Philippines. And talking about Uzbekistan side, where, I've been watching, I've seen more of them maybe on the men's side of the game, where you go play Uzbekistan and they host a lot of youth tournaments. So you go play Uzbekistan in Uzbekistan, even for their under 20s, they get 20,000 people in the stadium and fill that stadium out. And it is one of the toughest atmospheres I've seen an Australian side play in. And we tend to struggle. I think back to the under-20s Asian Cup. We had to play Uzbekistan just out of the group. I think it was the quarterfinals. We went to a penalty shootout against them. And suddenly, these guys who are 18, 19, barely adults, trying to do a penalty shootout in front of 20,000 people whistling yarn, wishing you the worst. It's a tough atmosphere to be in. I was looking at their crowds because they hosted their group in the recent round of qualifiers, and they were only getting... I think around 2,000 people to a game. So we may be able to avoid what is typically Uzbekistan's biggest asset. With something like the Olympics on the line, I don't know if they'll sit there and go, you know what, we need to get out and support the girls. Let's make it as much of a tough time for the Matildas as possible. But let's say we go to a stadium and
10, 15,000. Yeah, exactly. 10, 15,000. Exactly. They've got the experience.
Nowadays, really. Because it's like, okay, We'll go play. We'll play in Tashkent. We'll play in front of 15,000. Then you guys can come
Steph
to
Catley calling
the MCG or ANZ or Suncorp and go 50, 80, 100,000. And it's just a completely different breed. Like, we have an opportunity to sit there and go, I don't care what you throw up. We're going to come and we're going to wipe the floor with you in terms of atmosphere and intensity and the amount of pressure that's going to be on you, because we will give you something that you probably have never experienced in your life. And it's a good thing for them to play in front of. Like, anyone that gets to play in front of 100,000 people, like, that's a massive honor for you as a footballer. But also, we can make it really, really difficult for them at the same time.
Those hostile away crowds, like, unless they've got like a solid voice to them, after playing in front of 75K, 100K, like, it's going to be hard to kind of.
The reality is, even if we go to Amy Park and it's 30K, Amy Park that day against Canada is probably one of the best atmospheres I have experienced as a football fan. Men or women here, I haven't watched a game overseas, but I could imagine it'd be similar. But genuinely, the intensity we managed to put into that game was unlike anything that I've seen, at least in this country.
Good news, guys. There are Australia play pack. Oh no, that's December. There is month February 24. Taylor Swift's in town 10 days beforehand. MCG 100K Olympic qualifiers.
It's a tough turnaround. Those fields get dug up to the shithouse after a concert. And I'd rather a good pitch than just trying to force everyone into a stadium with a dodgy pitch. You know what, depending on if Suncorp's available, maybe even Allianz. You get 45,000 people in that place and just really blow the roof off it. Because that's a stadium that can really provide an atmosphere as well when it's full.
We're playing the hosting committee for the Matildas guys right now. This is us planning where the game's going to be just to cause the biggest issue.
And plus, if Taylor Swift's in town in Sydney, she's going to go to a course. So
just bring all the Swifties after. Schedule the game just before so they can all come in. We'll pack out Olympic Park, you know?
Hey, they're crazy. I wouldn't even underestimate it. I rock up to one of their concerts and say, hey, look at this really cool TikTok that Matilda's made of a Taylor Swift song, and just watch them all pack out a stadium and just scream every time someone gets the ball. That is an atmosphere that would be intimidating for anyone.
February at Allianz. So, depending on turnaround, could work. Pink's in town at the start of the month. So,
well, to be fair, if you're
it's already set up.
24th of February, it's a football match. Keep the goals up. Keep the line up. Keep the lines up.
I'll be there with the megaphone. That's
Cover the holes.
We got you.
Boom. Got yourself a football pitch. I know we're taking that megaphone off the show. Don't worry.
Exciting times. So that means if we go away, beat Uzbekistan 3-0, we come home with a 3-0 start to a home team crowd, and then we get to carry on from there. If we win that game, we qualify for the Olympics. Simple as that. Japan play North Korea on the other side of things. I expect that will go Japan's way. You don't know? They look good?
Oh, I don't know. North Korea, before they went off during COVID, they just basically decided, we're not going to play any football whatsoever. But before that, they were one of the top nations in women's football, above Australia. So
that would be really cool considering Japan's running the World Cup. Yet. Like, that would be cool to see. Because people like me that weren't around pre-World Cup don't know. Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, North Korea are a genuine force in women's football. I always have been. When we went to the Under-20s World Cup in 2022, the side that me and Michelle kind of bang on about all the time, and on Front Page Dub, me and Matt Olsen shower with a lot of praise. We only went to that World Cup because North Korea pulled out. So, yeah. They're not a side to take lightly. Trust me. We've got the best case scenario by a landslide here.
We win. So hopefully all goes to plan. February 28th, we'll be off to Paris in July, and then it goes into the regular tournament group stage kind of vibe that we've just experienced through the World Cup. So that won't be hard to explain to you guys.
The only hard part explaining how we've got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch those games instead of having it at prime time for us.
Actually, it's Olympics. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, it's 8 o'clock in France, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning here. Get it in before work. Sure, work won't mind me rocking up at 10 o'clock after a cheese bar.
Guys, we've got you. Let's have a quick look at the week ahead, Cody, because we're back home with W League. Stop, Josh. It's the Liberty A-League. Back in action.
Are we that official? We need to use a sponsor name. Or
we are. I reckon we could be pretty official. Let's drum up a sponsorship. If anyone's listening and wants to sponsor the podcast, I don't know any rates, but we'll look after you. We're growing. We'll take us along for the ride. Let's have a look at match day 4. Match day 4 or 5?
Match day 4. No, match day 3.
I was going to say, we don't play Victory this week. Wellington, Brisbane.
Yeah, that's the one. That's going to be a game. This is the round we're talking about. That will be a quality game. Like I said, I don't like talking about Wellington Phoenix on this podcast just for the fact that there's no Australians. I've got another, for anyone that's from New Zealand thinking I'm disrespecting you, I've got a whole other podcast I'm happy to ramble on till
we might not have any choice. About Wellington Phoenix. We might not have a choice. If they keep going the way they're going, we're going to have to talk.
Honestly, they're going crazy at the moment. Someone like Macy Fraser's really caught my eye. You don't talk about that technical ability of those players coming through. Definitely has that upper alley. But two sides that have probably, I don't want to say overperformed, but in a way compared to what the general consensus of their level was. I mean, I was the only one that said they would have, but I know you and Michelle
quite literally at the moment a top of the table clash. Second versus fourth. So
this could be a pivotal moment in a championship race like that. That's crazy.
I think depending on how, obviously Brisbane are probably going to be without Meeks. I don't see her bouncing back in 2 days. Maybe not, long journey, but hey, we'll see.
No, you'd be surprised.
But it's
some of those international footballers, what they'll do for football.
For those guys, so that's cool. Then we jump to the nation's capital, Canberra, Perth, two teams that definitely need. Oh no, Perth are on top of the table. They don't need shit. Canberra,
yeah, no, Perth are fine. Perth are good. Canberra probably needs to start picking up some points. I wouldn't be surprised. They're playing at home as well, right? Yeah, I think this is a game for them.
There's a lot of first home games. First home
games. Yeah, because their first game was against Adelaide in Adelaide.
But 1 point out of 2 for Canberra. This is the time to turn it on.
I think this is a game that you look at and go, okay, we need the 3 points here, and that desperation brings out something new in you. So even if it's early in the season, I think they'll sit there and go, nah, that we could be in a bad spot if we don't get the 3 points here. We need to get the 3 points. And they've probably got the quality to do it. It's just a matter of this Perth side just everything attached to the goal right now.
Speaking of teams that need help, Melbourne Victory, they are back home against Adelaide, who also are 1 point from 2. Adelaide have had no trouble scoring goals, though. So, yeah, this one could go either way, I think. But, yeah, I don't know.
It'll be an interesting one. It's a doubleheader as well, so you don't know who's going to be rocking up to that game. If LSM rock up earlier, obviously the Vikings will be there, but it'll be interesting. I think. Look, two sides that probably haven't had the best start to a season. Let's be real. I know Adelaide have 1 point on the board. They probably look all right going forward, whereas Victory probably don't look that great. But I still believe that once things start clicking for Victory, they'll be a tough team to get around. Probably just need 1 or 2 good results to just get kind of that momentum going. And this is probably the day to do it. Amy Park, I think they've had... I can't remember if the second game was away or not, but this is definitely their first game. This is their second game at home.
They played last week at the Matildas home. Yeah.
Oh, they play at George Cross, that's right, or whatever it's called out there. But they've played all 3 games in Melbourne, I guess, but this is their first game at the Premier Stadium. So... it can bring out something in you. You've got nicer change rooms. It's easier to get yourself prepared for a match as much as the atmosphere may not be as intimidating. It does set you up well to play football. So they'll have that going for them. I think they'll probably come away with this.
We'll see. We're 100% neutral right now.
We've got to remain neutral.
Chloe Lagazzo takes Western United back home against Melbourne City. Melbourne City women are doing better than the men, and that's all I'm going to say.
it's not that hard, to be fair, that they're meant to.
This is one of those games that kind of... I think City could run away with it, but I don't know. But we said...
They probably should.
Yeah.
But, look, there's two sides that are doing well. I think Western United in that first game... Yeah. Look, Perth were just... I think Perth just played really well. Set up well defensively as well. We saw what Western United can do in that second game, especially a late winner like that. That does a lot for your confidence. It's just a shame it kind of peters out over the international break as well. But there's a lot to like about both these sides, I think. And Melbourne City have a perfect start to maintain. Western United will be looking to gain some ground. They'll look at it and go, okay, we win this game. We're on par again with your Perth, your City, your Brisbane. It's hard to say there's a lot of riding on this game because it's so early, but to see how the early ladder shapes up,
we head to my first game of the season.
Very exciting.
Let's go. Double header. Jets home for their first home game of the season against Western Sydney. I'm going to be disappointed if the girls don't get up because they've looked a lot better than Western Sydney have. But Jets do be Jets sometimes.
So, look, I don't know. Western Sydney are cooking something over there. The football they're playing is slowly getting better. It definitely looks a lot better than last year. And you're talking about two sides. Well, look, Jets do have some points on the board already, I guess. But you're talking about two sides that will definitely want some positive momentum. This one will actually be. I think every game, because it is early in the season, it is very easy to say about it. And you do have 6 final spots to kind of play for. But there is a lot on the line in each game already at this stage of the season. It's fantastic to see. But you talk about Newcastle as well. I can't say too much, and probably I think this news will be released by the time this podcast goes to air, but I think you guys are going to get some good news
this is what
soon.
we were talking about. Yeah, I know this too. I've heard this rumor as well.
I can't say much more.
I'm excited about this. And the last fixture of this round has actually been moved to January 2024, guys, because of the Asian Club Championships. Sydney FC are out of town, so their game against Central Coast has been shifted to the 17th of January. So if you weren't aware of that, now you are. But yeah, exciting times. Good to have. It's just... I'm exhilarated. I feel like I did after the World Cup, that little vibe.
you need the football fix, and it's good. Like have 60,000 people watching the Matildas. Unfortunately, Perth aren't playing at home as well, are they?
Yeah,
that's a shame. It would have been good for them to build up on it, but you never know. I think maybe the week after they are, if you can get people in there and go, hey, you love the Matildas, why don't you come watch this Perth A-League women's side? If you can get 3,000 or 4,000 of the 100,000, that. And I think the
biggest thing for the
looking fantastic. That's
women's A-League as well is kids go free, right? If you guys aren't aware of that, parents sign up for a membership and you can take kids for free. You only need it, and they're cheap. There you go.
Registered
rules.
Footballers, kids, I believe.
Didn't look at.
There are rules, and I'm not actually sure if Perth get that. But I'm sure Perth will have some deal that I hope you get your kids in. If not for free, very cheap.
T's, Josh.
Hey, every other club besides Wellington Phoenix as well gets it. So look, honestly, the membership packages for A-League women's clubs are so accessible.
I think I paid $59 for the year.
At a very reasonable price. The adult one for Sydney FC's like $95 or something ridiculous like that. Like it's
let's jump over the WSL. I don't know if many of our girls will be back in squads, maybe for the later games. I don't think Sam Kerr will be in action against Villa. Yeah?
No, you'd be surprised. I think they'll be on the first flight out of Perth. They wouldn't even stay the night after that game. So we'll be seeing them play how fresh
Chelsea
they'll be.
Go away to Villa this week. City Arsenal. That's going to be a banger of a game. That's 11:30. It's our game before midnight, time is it? Cody. We said anything that starts before midnight, let's go. And it's Sunday as well. Oh,
yes.
So I'll be home from
we love that.
The Jets beating WSW to watch that Sunday.
So is that Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Sunday. Oh, perfect.
No, it's like Sunday night.
Oh, it just gets better and better.
Morning. We'll take that. Liverpool, Leicester.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Have we got any updates on Remy? Because Remy's been...
I don't think so. I think she's probably still, from what
Michelle will probably come back.
Probably still a couple of weeks away, unfortunately.
While she was over there, God love her. Then
Tottenham, Everton, Claire Wheeler back in action. West Ham, Bristol, Macca back between the sticks. And Rule and Hawksby, Brighton player, against United. So some big games there. Football is just so good, isn't it? Like, it's so lovely.
It's a beautiful sport. There's a reason why I spend most of my week talking about it.
If you don't follow us already, we are growing rapidly on the social medias. We've gained 150 followers in the last week. So cheers to everybody new that's joining us. Hello if you're listening to us to the first time, but make sure you're sharing it with your friends because this is going to be a little movement that we're hoping by the end of the year, we're going to hit 500. And then by end of February, do we hit 1,000 by the end of February, Cody? That's.
I reckon if we hit 1,000 by the Olympics,
we're looking up. We're looking up. This week in Paris, because we got 3 teams over there as well. We'll look over there. Not in Paris. Lyon and Paris do play against each other, and yeah. Well,
that's why Carpenter went back
early. They play on the 6th. They play on Monday.
They probably wanted to make sure she's fresh.
Where did EVE go?
I don't know. The French might be a bit uptight about that.
Oh, I thought that was done.
She's got the NWSL playoffs.
Oh, okay. I was like,
the league's done, but now they've got the final series.
Over. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them celebrating the league title, and I didn't see any of the finals game schedule. I was like, did they get rid of the finals for the NWSL? They're just we're having a week break before they started.
I can't even pronounce that. EAG, I'm going to say, because that's what's on their logo. That's it, Gwingum. Thank you. I wanted to hear you say it before I tried to say it.
There we go. Red and black?
Yeah, that's it. Look at you go, Cody.
Red and black, right? There we go.
Real Madrid.
Masters of linguistics.
Actually, can we talk about Ballon d'Or? We need to talk Ballon d'Or. What are we doing?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It slipped my mind too.
What happens when we're without Michelle, guys? But I don't think second.
No, but yeah, Sam Kerr coming second. Like you're talking, I think there was only 1 year where she went from being nominated 1 year to the next and dipped in the rankings. But she just keeps building and building and building. And look, it's not a World Cup year, but it is an Olympics year. You're talking if Chelsea can go on and win the league, if they can go far in the Champions League, or even if they win the Champions League and come far in the league, and she's petering on Golden Boot. Let's just say the Matildas go far in the World Cup. She's making a case for the Ballon d'Or. Especially if at any stage Chelsea go further than Barcelona and she can topple Bonmati in that sense and Putellas. Like, unfortunately, we've got very big competition there. But outside of those two, she's probably the most talented footballer on the planet.
You didn't even think
That's
of
saying
that.
something.
It's almost a shame that Arsenal aren't in the Champions League with how good Caitlin Ford's playing right now as well. Like
yeah, it'd be a shame. But look, even if they go on a decent cup run somewhere, the Olympics will have a big part to play in it. But let's just say Arsenal. Unfortunately, Arsenal aren't doing very well in the league either, so that doesn't help anything. But,
17th.
It's fantastic. And then Hayley Russell on top of that, coming 17th. I think it's the first time I've had 2 Aussies
20.
Nominated for it.
That's insane.
And you can't say it's not deserved. And you're not talking someone that was just like petering and just made the rankings as well. Like 17, it's decent. It's better than being on the lowest of the rankings. Like, she's beaten some people. And for someone like Russell as well, like, everyone talks about her story and the fact, like, she obviously was very close to not playing football anymore, but just, like, she's someone that plays a lot of heart, a lot of energy. So for her to actually be recognised at this level when, maybe sometimes she does take a back seat to the likes of Ford, Kerr, and maybe even to an extent Fowler nowadays. It's good to see her getting that recognition.
Speaking of the recognition,
pretty much the pinnacle of world football.
Mention Aitana Bonmati taking it out. World class. Obviously not a Matilda, but exactly.
She's an example. She's she's the sort of player that if you're a young footballer, you watch and go, I want to be like her. As much as she's not Australian. Daniela Galic actually said when she signed for City that Bonmati is someone that she watches a lot and models her game around. And once I started watching Bonmati myself, I was like, that's why Daniela Galic is so good at football.
Yeah. Really, really, really great. I actually saw a really good video of Bonmati at the World Cup after the final. The Spanish fans were singing Ballon d'Or at her. And she told them, yeah, don't do that. And she was just so humble in her own kind of presence, which was so good. So,
and it was nice to see after she won it, she got to take a photo with someone that was clearly a massive fan of her. I believe the guy's name was Lionel Messi.
That was the guy that won the other Ballon d'Or. I love the fact that she replicated his photo those awards. Well. Like,
it's fantastic
both
to see.
Do the exact same thing. So good. Has anything else happened that we've missed out? We were so focused on our own games that we forgot there was Sam Kerr, Asian Player of the Year, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, that's probably more of a given. But it's still fantastic to see. Like, she is by far and away the best player in Asia.
Probably should be the best player.
I don't think there was any Asian players near her on the rankings either. I don't know where Mizugawa. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I might have butchered that badly.
She was up there, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if she was ranked anywhere.
Oh, maybe not. I think actually
she top 10.
Razzo might have been the next closest Asian player. Hey,
Matilda's the massive, mate.
Japan who? Has anything else happened in the world of football? I don't think so. That's going to be us for the week, guys. We'll be back with regular scheduled content talking about lots of games everywhere next week. Thanks for waiting a day or two for this episode to be released. We just wanted to make sure that we had all the news for you guys to talk all things football. And I'm kind of glad we waited too, because we probably wouldn't have talked about Ballon d'Or, and it would have been a very big episode trying to fit everything in next week. So, you know where to find us, at Talking Tillies. Cody and I will be back on the mic. We'll figure out where in the world our other person is, Michelle. But we might have another body joining us. We'll try and find a friend to rope in and chat all things coming up. This has been another episode of the Talking Tillies, still unsponsored. Shout out if you want to do it. And we will be back next week with a brand new episode of the Talking Tillies podcast. Goodbye.